Randy Laviolette.
And I'm Andrew Doty.
This week we're bringing you a second trip through the Computer Museum. We had such a great reaction several weeks ago when we brought you the first piece that we figured we'd do it all over again. So tonight we've got the second part of our Computer Museum trip. We also have on hand Keith Davis with Bits and PCs and Bob Clemens with PC Voyage News. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Good. How's your computer?
Just great.
Oh, good.
Just which one?
Pick one.
Oh, any of them. They're all good.
Uh-huh. Do you have a 46 yet?
Of course.
Oh, good. Everybody should have one of those.
I think so. Absolutely.
With the prices dropping the way they have been, everybody should have one.
Absolutely. And now, here's Chip with the trivia question.
Here are this week's computer trivia questions. Number 1. What is the center of a PC network called? And number 2. How many attributes can a file have?
As I mentioned earlier, recently several weeks ago now, I took a film crew out to the Computer Museum out in Boston, out on Congress Street out in Boston, and we showed you some footage a few weeks ago on our trip, and we've got more footage we want to show you. So here's the Computer Museum.
All right, well, what this is the introduction to people and computers, and we've got somewhere, I think, like around 16 video screens here, and it's talking about computers and its progression from the 1930s to present date. From the beginning, mammoth computers used for World War I, actually World War II, all the way up to the tiny microcomputers you have in your computers where else today, and it's an introduction to everything that we have here inside.
Okay. Well, why don't we head inside here and see where we go?
Okay.
We're in the 1930s right now.
We come into the 1930s, and the earliest computers used punch cards like these for data storage. We didn't really have very sophisticated memory, so it was stored on these punch cards, and the holes are punched through in patterns in order to represent characters or numbers.
It's amazing. My high school taught these 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, they're pretty much not being used anymore, but it's not that old, really. And then the computer would generally talk back either with a typewriter. In this case, she's using a sorting machine. She'd punch out the cards on this machine here, and then this machine could sort them into groups. So if you were trying to like sort, this is talking about Social Security cards, you're sorting them out by state or whatever else. Machines like this would do that.
That's probably the way they still do Social Security.
I wouldn't be surprised. Okay.
We're in the 1940s now?
Yep, into the 1940s, and here computers are booming, mainly for the war effort. This here is a real person, or at least a model of a real person, sorry. His name was J. Forrester, I believe. He was the first programmer, though.
Joe Thompson.
Joe Thompson, there we go. I'm not good with names. Joe Thompson, he was the first programmer.
Kind of like Trigger. These are days of mechanical and electronic marvels. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Has Joe seen himself sitting here?
I don't think so. I don't believe that he has. But this is obviously just a fraction of the size of the original computers, and this here is, 1/100th of what the full computer would take up. A computer like this would take up pretty much this entire building, with all the vacuum tubes, everything, just to do some very simple processes that we would do in a small little handheld calculator today.
Did Joe also find the first bugs?
We have a lot of different clips of newsreels, people speaking, whatever, and this touch screens allows you to call up whatever subject that you're interested in, and it has a little clip of, in this case, a movie newsreel.
She has no monitor either.
No. The monitors are a later production. Normally they'd use keyboards or printers would be the outputs.
It's amazing we can't live without our monitors now. You know?
I know.
Now we're going into the 50s.
Okay. Into the 50s, now the computers are beginning to enter into business. This first UNIVAC was bought by, for business, was bought by General Electric for a very large sum of money. And pretty soon after, though, this is a new idea, using computers for business, and it caught on pretty fast. I'd say probably this also started the drive to make computers more smaller and more efficient so that businesses could use them. Obviously, they didn't really have giant houses to fill with computers, and so they were put a lot of pressure on for more economic and smaller computers. This is just the control board. This is not the computer itself.
The computer itself would be housed in units.
Housed in units like this throughout the building, yes.
Wow. Amazing how far we've come.
Little mood music here just to get into this time period.
And we're heading into the late 50s.
Into the late 50s. Now the biggest problem is not so much building the computers, but programming them. The software is what runs the program, and the problem is, this is talking here, the new Tower of Babel. There are a million different computer languages, and some of them would only work with certain computers. They didn't work with each other. So they had to work on making some more universal programming languages that are both easier to use and understand and debug, obviously, and something that would be more compatible with other computers and each other's programs and output.
To this day, though, they really haven't come up with one thing.
To do this day, they still haven't came up with one, but they've got it a lot more isolated. I mean, before, if you didn't have just the right computer and the right software, it just wouldn't work, and there's millions of them. Now at least you can transfer stuff back and forth. You can buy programs that will say, for example, take a Pascal program and make it into a C program. Mm-hmm. Couldn't do that then.
What's this guy doing down here? He's all bent over. Feels like the rest of us.
Right.
He looks like the rest of us on a tough day.
He's dealing with the wires that were kept under the floor. Into the 60s, the computer pretty much was a sign of a booming business, and so everybody wanted one. And so they'd have big computer rooms like this, with windowed, air-conditioned rooms, so that everybody could see their computers, kind of like to show off what a wonderful computer we have, our IBM 360 or whatever. And the wires were run underneath the floor just to free up the space. And
these all had to be environmentally safe rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Keep everything out of here.
Yeah, everything was very rigidly environmentally controlled to prevent, overheating of the computers, because now, we have a Mac and we just stick a fan in it and life's good. These generate a lot more heat than the modern computers do. This is talking about some ideas that didn't always work. There's been a lot of revolutionary ideas, but also some ideas that weren't very practical. This here is the Army wanted to put a computer in a truck, which seems pretty logical to us, seems like it makes sense, but at this time they were so big, they really couldn't do it. It took up too much room, it needed too much power, they couldn't really get it in. This here is also an example of a reorder of the keyboard. See how the vowels are together there in that middle line. And the problem with this is, by this point, everybody had gotten used to the old keyboard, that they didn't want to relearn a new one. So even though this is probably simpler to learn, more logical, it just never caught on, because nobody wanted to change.
And still today we use the same keyboard as it said there, developed in 1936.
The same original computer, keyboard. All right, into the 1970s is the introduction of the microchip and the microcomputer, which obviously now that you can make them a lot smaller, it's got a lot more practical uses. What we have here is an operating room. It's being used in medical situations, in this case to monitor the life signals of a brain operation here.
Keith, I think we finally found a use for Rich.
Finally found a brain is awesome.
I noticed back here I saw some Star Trek clips going by on this one.
Yep, you want to see a Star Trek clip here? This is an example again of how the computers are affecting the people and the culture. Obviously, there's a lot of, in anything, it's the society, the dreams of the future that propels the industry.
Daystrom must have impressed that instinctive reaction upon
What they're talking about is a mammoth computer with its own intelligence and attempting to make life safe for all humanity here, and as typical, Kirk will save the universe, I'm sure.
Every week you did too.
Okay.
A new woman and a new problem every week. What is this over here?
Okay. Again, just for the many different uses of computers, it's for the theater environment, and theater would control things like lighting. And you can see with a simple press of the button, it's going this very precise order of lights, which normally would involve a lot of different people in a light booth to get everything in just right place. And even so, they'd miss cues or whatever else. In here, the computer can do what a human couldn't necessarily do, or could at least do it a lot more precisely.
Didn't Jim just buy this computer at a computer fair?
That looks like one.
Now we're walking into the late 70s. Is there a lot of...
Well, I mean, it's hard to say from where we stand. You know, you see the sort of the down and gritty of it, you know, the problems, the bugs. But yeah, I'd say probably the industry's picking up speed as both its potential is being realized and also more and more uses are being found for it.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the late 70s, we're getting into supercomputers. Giant computers like this one, which even today can do a lot more work a lot faster than a lot of computers we're used to dealing with.
The first computer that also could be used as furniture.
Yep, this is the first love seat / computer here.
What are we doing over here?
Over here, this is monitoring meteorological. Wow, I never could get that word out. Meteorological. There you go. Information. For example, here we have a hurricane, I believe, coming in. And again, this is the type of stuff that's pretty second nature to us today. You know, we'll see our weatherman standing up in front of a computer board that'll have a display like this going on. We really don't think much about how much computing the computer has to do to keep track of every little bit of information and to make a cohesive map out of it, something that makes sense to us.
John Quill sitting over there doing his nightly weather report.
Back when he was younger.
Back when he was younger. Oh, hey, a great one here, Pong.
Yep.
We all had one of these.
Good sign of technology's become pretty, well, commonplace when you go to find it in things like video games. We've got Pong, the first real video game introduced,
with a video display. He took it to a
which nowadays, now you've got things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and whatever else, seems probably a little bit...
We couldn't live without the turtles. So.
Yeah, we need our turtles. Probably seems a little primitive, but at the time it was just
filled with quarters.
very revolutionary. You know, just
And they're talking about here how many quarters people would dump into these things.
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know.
Pound quarters into it. And also you can do things like computer simulation for scientific research, things you really can't go out and explore a black hole. But here with this computer simulation, the scientists have put in what they know about black holes and tried to simulate what would happen if two black holes collided with each other. And we're seeing gravitational wells.
Totally in theory.
I'm sorry?
Totally in theory.
Pretty much, yes.
Until we become like Star Trek, that's all it'll be.
Probably not a very far-fetched guess. Okay, now into the
Yeah, I know him.
80s. Yep. Personal computers, of course, are the big thing. Everybody has a computer, you know, on their desk. At least everybody would like to have one. Not always can afford them. Here's one of the early 1980s IBM personal computers, and not that unfamiliar to us. We still use computers like this today.
It's interesting that the specifications that's listed on here, that it's $3,000 for a system that's an 8088, 4.77 megahertz, 16K of RAM, 160K floppy disk, or cassette. It's amazing that that power, that's slow to today's standards, but not that long ago.
Right. not to mention go for that much. But this is, I mean, cutting edge technology, and it's, I mean, people have been trying to get computers down to a package deal, something you could have sitting on your desk for, obviously, you know, since 1930 when they're filling up warehouses. And so this was, you know, a revolution.
Now everybody seems to have them in their dorm rooms.
Now everyone's got them in their dorm rooms. They can't get by without them, right?
We head over in the electronics store. What do we, actually, what is here?
These are some examples of some early personal computers, maybe some that didn't quite get off the ground, as well as Apple and IBM. But even so, we have the Apple IIe here, or just the Apple II, I guess. Had some things that maybe some of us are used to seeing, others maybe we haven't, like the Micro there didn't really become very popular.
The Apple I without the suitcase.
Apple I without the suitcase, right. That's really what's all doing the work, all the micro circuits from the 70s.
And if you can get in on this one here, this was the first computer that Mr. Gates himself wrote BASIC on. The Altair 8800. And in fact, it says BASIC 1.0, 2nd of March 75 on it. Is that the real BASIC, or is that just a mock-up?
Don't know if that's the real tape. I would imagine it'd probably be a bit longer than that.
And here's Jim Dilks' favorite computer right down here on the bottom, his TRS-80 Model 1. To him, that's still state-of-the-art, so. This is as good a place as any to close off this tour. We're back here in front of the giant diskette drive in front of the walkthrough.
Yeah.
What we want to do is to have people come down here and visit the computer museum. What kind of hours are there to this place?
Museum's open 10 to 5 every day save from Monday. Right down here in Congress Street, right off South Station. Hope to see lots of people down here, because...
Is there a phone number that people can get information about the computer museum?
Yep. 426-2800.
Area code 617.
Area code 617.
Well, thanks a lot, Troy. I appreciate you giving us the tour.
Right. Thanks a lot.
And I want to thank
Hope
Chris.
you enjoyed it.
We did. I want to thank Chris and Julie for also helping us out here. And I'm Randy Laviolette for PC Voyage. You know, one of the best parts of going to the computer museum, one of my favorite parts, was the part where they give you the entire history of computers. Each station, you actually walk through each decade, starting with the 50s, or actually the 40s, and going all the way through the 90s. And in the 90s, they take you into this, it almost looked like a sound playground of electronics. But they brought you through the punch card era, the raised floor era with the big mainframes. They also brought you through the 60s and the 70s and the beginning of the PCs. In fact, they had this showcase there. I hope they got it as part of the segment, of all different PCs. And they actually had an Apple II and an Apple I, I should say. An Apple I, for anybody who doesn't know, was a suitcase computer. You built it in a suitcase. And it was a board, just like a regular PC motherboard, only instead of having the metal cabinet and the power supply and the fan, you had a suitcase that you put this in. And that's actually how Apple started, was with these little suitcase computers. They'd make up the motherboards and sell the system.
Pretty fascinating information, I think.
Well, thank you.
Well worth the trip, don't you feel?
Oh, it was a great trip. We had a lot of fun out there that day, and our people out there, including Julie, who coordinated the whole thing out there with us, it was excellent.
So they climbed into the Rainy Mobile and away they went.
Oh yeah, it was a real road trip right at Animal House.
And and next up, Chip with the trivia answer.
Here are this week's computer trivia answers. Number 1. A file server is at the center of a PC network. And number 2. A file can have up to 4 attributes: read-only, archive, system, and hidden.
Well, one of the things that's really been a hot topic these days is the comparisons between Windows DOS, Windows OS2, and Windows NT. Where do you think everything's going to fit in there?
Well, I'm probably going to say towards, I think you're going to see a sudden influx at the end towards OS2. I think you're going to see a lot more people converting towards the OS2 platform.
So? Yeah. I think with the familiarity of OS2 versus OS2 Windows NT versus Windows, I think you're going to see a lot more people migrating over to the power of NT.
We'll see.
And we'll see how that debate flares up, but first, here's Keith Davis with Bits and PCs.
Hi, this is Keith Davis. On upcoming Bits and PC segments, we'll take a look at making and editing ASCII files. Your computer's configsys and autoexec.bat files are ASCII files, and knowing how to manage them is a key element to successful computing. Then we'll look at how to make batch files that run programs and how to combine many of these into a single batch file that can run every piece of application on your system. Finally, we'll see how to set hotkeys so that a single keystroke will launch an application, then return to a menu that you make and maintain. See you on Bits and PCs. We're getting near the end of our second season, so be sure to get those questions, comments, or suggestions into PC Voyage so you can become eligible to be a lucky winner in our second season's big giveaway. We have Central Point's antivirus for Windows, Intuit's finance packages Quicken for Windows and QuickBooks for DOS, 386 Max Memory Manager by Qualitas, Scrapbook Plus, a Windows graphic manager by Microsoft, 5th Generation Systems Virus Protection for DOS Untouchable, Russ Walter's Secret Guide to Computing, 4 tickets to the Boston Computer Museum, and more. So get those letters in now. And Chip has the address coming up in just a minute.
You know, and speaking of our illustrious little computer that sounds like he's talking out of a crate, here is Chip with the PC Voyage address.
If you have any questions, or if you have any comments about the show, please write to us. Our new address is PC Voyage, P.O. Box 10486, Holyoke, Massachusetts, 01041. We appreciate hearing from you.
You know, I was like hearing the most up-to-date information about PCs. I'm one of those guys that can't wait for the mail to come in to grab his magazines and find out what the latest news is that's going on.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Well, that's true too. And here's another guy that can't wait for those either. Bob Clemens with PC Voyage News.
Good day, and welcome to PC Voyage News. Intel has taken the wraps off 2 new overdrive chips. The devices are designed for PCs that use the company's 25 megahertz and 33 megahertz 486 DX microprocessors. The overdrive chips double the internal speed of their host CPUs. Intel says they can boost PC performance by up to 70%. The chips are designed for installation by their owners and will sell for $599 and $799. Compaq Computer has added a color notebook PC to its low-end Contura portable computer line. The Contura 3/25C weighs 6.7 pounds and features a 9-inch passive matrix VGA display. The 25 megahertz 386SL based PC costs $2,799, including an 84 meg hard drive. Version with the 120 megabyte hard drive sells for $3,099. The computer maker also has announced a pair of ProLinea desktop PCs. The ProLinea 4/50 features a 50 megahertz 486 DX2 microprocessor and has a base price of $2,049. The ProLinea 425s provides a 25 megahertz 46SX CPU and has a base price of $1,349. Both models are available now. A product that will give Macintosh PowerBook systems wireless computing capabilities is now under development by Applied Engineering of Carrollton, Texas. The company's ComPort unit will install inside the PowerBook and offer users cellular telephone functions. It will be able to handle a wide variety of voice and data tasks, including file transfers, message answering, paging, and fax communication at speeds of up to 14,400 bits per second. It's scheduled to ship before the end of the year at a price in the neighborhood of $3,000. Apple Computer is recalling some of its PowerBook 100 notebook computers. The company says it has documented 3 cases in which electrical short circuits melted a small hole in the bottom of the computer's case. Apple says there have been no reports of injury or property damage. The recalled systems have serial numbers below SQ211 and SS216. The units will be modified at no cost to the owner. Apple has created a special hotline to answer users' questions. The number is 1-800-572-1731. And Packard Bell, a PC maker that older readers will remember as a big name in home TV sets during the 1950s and 60s, is re-entering its former market in a high-tech way. The firm is preparing to release PBTV3, a Windows-based add-in card that lets a PC function as a TV. The unit allows users to watch TV while they work on a spreadsheet, word processor, or other Windows application. It also accepts signals from VCRs, Laserdisc players, and camcorders. PCV TV is scheduled for release in late September. It will sell for about $500. Good way to watch the World Series at work. Portions of the PC Voyage News courtesy of Prodigy Service.
Watch for PC Voyage weekly on your local community access channel.
You know, the HP LaserJet 4 is another hot piece of equipment that if you want to see some really hot printing, that's probably one of the best laser printers on the market.
I'm getting one.
You should already have one.
A little behind the times.
You're slow, you're slow.
And on that note, I'm Andrew Doty.
And I'm not. And we'll see you next week on PC Voyage.
Very interesting, but stupid.
Shoot the kid, wait.